Welcome everyone, my name is Janet and I'm working through Exodus chapters 22 to 24 today, so get ready because it's quite detailed. It's a lot about the law, that's what we're covering today. So I've posted links for each chapter so you can read through it and get the information if you do not have a Bible to hand. Okay, let's get started with chapter 22. So God, as we saw in the last chapter, was really creating fear amongst the people because he was creating this huge cloud over the mountain Sinai and fire and the people were in fear, and that fear really is there to know that these laws are to be listened to and you must respect them because there will be a wrath if you do not. So we carry on with the laws set by God. Here we go. So these laws are being set down to the judges, and then these judges will then make sure they're adhered to and not broken. And it stops Moses having to have that constant, as we saw in previous chapters, where he was constantly doing the negotiating and having to go back and forth. These laws are coming down to really make it clear that everybody knows their part, how to live correctly, and how to live righteously and fair among the community, among the people. So I'm going to detail some of the laws that were covered in chapter 22. So it says, if somebody steals an ox, they are to return it, or they'll become an indented servant. So they will be ever a servant if they do not abide by that law. If someone breaks in during the day, which it says specifically because on a night you might not see, but during the day, someone should be able to defend themselves without death. So you should be able to stop someone basically breaking into your home without killing them. Obviously, if it's dark and you can't, then it's a different story. But during the day, don't kill anyone really if you have to. We all know that, death is the final straw, so do not kill. The next segment covers animals and property and stealing. And basically to return whatever you've stolen. If somebody's found out that they've stolen something, give it back. Simple as, right? And if an Israelite lost property, that was his, so he's lost it, and some other person's picked it up, thought, oh, look at this, isn't this great? Nope, they cannot keep it. They have to give it back to who it belongs to. So really what it's saying is don't keep anything that doesn't belong to you. Return it, or return it to someone who will find the owner and give it back. Borrowing and lending, that's another thing that is covered. Also premarital sex. That is not condoned at all. Like if someone is found to sleep with somebody and they weren't supposed to, they weren't married, then the father can then actually, say, you can marry my daughter, but if not, then they have to pay a price, basically, because that is pretty serious consequences in the law. You do not have sex if you are not married. Another law that is cast out here is thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. So any kind of sorcerer or somebody who's playing with dark magic that is basically kind of trying to call in a power other than the Lord, and it's not a done thing and it is punishable by death. So do not do this. Another strong rule was do not sleep with animals. You can't believe that law has to even be there, but yes, do not sleep with animals. Treat everyone with kindness. Of course, treat everybody in your community with kindness and compassion for widows and orphans and the poor, which is what we should do. People who don't have parents, people who are older and on their own, and those who can't afford a lot, We have to help each other out. That's why we're here. We've got to help those in need out. So those laws are laid out. And then finally, laws concerning animals, the welfare of your animal. So that covers chapter 22, but we will continue now in chapter 23, even more laws. So we go into do not lie and spread false information about somebody. That is a no-no, and you know that. You know the consequences of that. If you're talking about somebody, making stories up about them, it's like, that is a definite no. Don't help a guilty person. That is a strong rule. Don't follow the crowd. So don't follow everybody else. But really, you've got to listen to yourself and follow the laws that God has laid down. If you see something that belongs to your enemy, return it. So they might be your enemy, but you've still got to do the right thing, return what belongs to them, and if they are really in need, help them out. Help them out. Help your enemies. Do not charge the innocent. So anybody who is innocent, do not charge them, and do not accept bribes. How many people are going to bribe you to do a certain thing? Do not accept it. You know what the right thing to do is. Don't accept bribes. Do not oppress a foreigner, because you, it says yourself, were a stranger in Egypt. They were in that land. So don't oppress somebody who's coming into this world. Be kind. Be kind, caring, and allow them to be a part. You're as equally important as anybody else. So anybody coming into the land should be given the same kindness you would give anybody else. And now we cover the Sabbath laws. So for 6 years, you must sow and harvest, and allow on the 7th year the poor animals and people to eat and gather in that 7th year. So give whatever you can afford to give to others on that 7th year. Work for 6 days and rest on the 7th, including all the servants. And have no other gods, because this God is almighty. He is the only God. Do not go glorify something else, some object, something like that. It's saying only God is the only person who is on this mount right now, talking to you all with these loud noises, saying, I am the only God. Don't look to anybody else. I am it. He says there are to be 3 festivals a year. The first festival is the unleavened bread. So that's like the Passover. So to celebrate their leaving Egypt. The second festival is the first fruits festival, which will be when you're harvesting all your labour and you've created all this abundance through what you've done in your fields. It's like there's a celebration to be had. And then the final third festival is at the very end of the year, and that's when you gather together for all the work that you've done in the field. So those are the 3 festivals. God also says about an angel, so God's angels to prepare the way. Now, a lot of people have heard us talking about this is Jesus. This is Jesus to come. We don't know yet, but this is kind of like, this is where Jesus will step in. It says, you will follow and obey this angel when it comes. Do not bow down to any other gods. Worship the Lord always. The Lord will operate against their enemies, and little by little, he will help them get towards and stay in their land, and he's sort of covering the boundaries of their land, which is the Red Sea to the Sea of the Philistines, and from the desert to the river. The ending part is make no covenant with your enemies, so no covenant to be made with them. So that ends our chapter 23, and now chapter 24 is kind of like a ritual to bring all of these laws and to have that covenant in place, to agree that we have listened to all of these, we're going to now move forward, and so this is how the ritual takes place. So we have Moses, Aaron, Nabadad and Dahihu, and 70 elders were to go up to the Lord. They were to stay at a distance though, not go close up. Only Moses was allowed to approach the Lord. So Moses tells all the people all of these laws, these rules, and the people, they agree and they say, everything the Lord has said, we will do. So they've agreed unitedly that they will do it. And Moses writes everything down. He wrote everything that has been said. Such an important time to write everything down. And he gets up really early on the morning and he builds an altar to the Lord with 12 stone pillars representing the 12 tribes. So all of the different tribes of Jacob, Joseph, and all of these different ones. He also sends young Israelite men to offer burnt offerings and sacrifice young bulls as fellowship offerings. There's always some kind of like sacrifice with an animal. So this is again the same thing, like when there's a covenant made, the bulls are to be sacrificed in this instant. So Moses took half the blood and put it in bowls, and he splashed the other half on the altar. So he's got all this bull blood in 2 bowls, splashing some on the altar. Then he reads the book of the covenant to the people, and they responded. He's reading out everything that he's been told by God to the people, and they say, we will do everything the Lord has said. They will obey, they're going to obey. So Moses then begins, once they've said that, by sprinkling blood onto the people. Now this is the blood between God and the covenant and themselves. And it says that the Israelites saw God. So there's a small section where they see him. And Aaron and Hur remained to settle disputes and keep order, while Moses and Joshua went up the mountain again, of the mountain of Sinai, to receive the stone tablets with the law and the commandments written on them. So they are going up there to get those commandments written on stone tablets. And then the Lord covers Mount Sinai like a cloud for 6 entire days. It's just a cloud around it. And the Lord calls Moses on the 7th day, and the glory of the Lord looked like fire. So there's like a fire coming out, and then Moses entered the cloud and stayed there for 40 days and 40 nights. And that is where chapter 24 ends. So he's gone up there for 40 days and 40 nights up in that cloud. So he's obviously really having that ceremonial connection, really understanding the laws so that he can then convey these things to the people, that he's got them written in stone. He's got that covenant now between the people. It's such a significant time where all of this has been placed now. These laws are placed, they are in position, they are to be abided by. The people know. And the next is to set forth and keep them in place. That's it. We need laws, sadly, to keep us all straight on the straight and narrow. So there we have it. Clear laws given by God to the Israelites via Moses, who is going to then teach them that. They now know, they've seen the Lord, they've had the experience of him really a very sort of dramatic way, so that they will, it's like to instill these laws into them, so that then they can have a peaceful community. Everybody has that fair play. They're important rules that are going to help their lives become better and keep God on their side. So God will stay with them, help them, free them from their enemies, because if they're doing the right thing, all will be well. And I think we know that in our own lives. We do the right things, things turn out for our lives. If we start doing the wrong things, then, we're going down a dark path. So there we go. That's our 3 chapters for today. And I will be back again with more from the book of Exodus tomorrow. Hope to see you all then. Take care. Bye.